My name's James and welcome to R&R, the show where I react to and review some of the latest and greatest music videos. Today I'm going to be checking out the entire BOI catalogue, starting off at Plan Z and making my way through to Funeral of an Antihero. Let's go.
One studio session later.
The crusty crab's going down when I drop this heat. Plan Z's making sound, have them at their feet. They got a lot of shit to say about the chum bucket. Let's see who's laughing last when I turn them into holographic me. Better run, better run, better run.
Ooh.
Just one bucket helmet and you're done.
Some riffage.
Friends and your family in the chum. The secret formula.
Ah, okay. So I was kind of wondering what the, I guess, point of difference would be between BOI and Glob. Obviously, yeah, we get a more modern metal forward sound. And I guess what comes with that modern metal sound is a lot more of those new metal influences where we get a bit more of that sort of hybrid between rap and metal. I guess it's more in the sense of a sort of Linkin Park style rather than, you know, a Korn or Slipknot style. In the comments section of some of my videos covering Glob, that people have mentioned, you know, Glob's not the first, that there's been a few producers before Glob that sort of have done the same thing and are still doing it. However, I think the one thing that definitely sets Glob apart is the more attention to detail when it comes to some of the bars, but as well as the music videos that we get. So this is definitely much more in the style of those earlier Glob music videos where we've just got, you know, the morphing of some AI generated art, which is cool. It adds that little bit of extra depth and story. I do like, you know, so far there's been some great references to the show. The holographic meat was a funny one. I like that. The one thing that, just on a mix level, production level, I do want the vocals much more forward, a bit more present. I think what you could have done is put some saturation on the vocals to give it that sort of crunchiness so it really kicks through the mix, particularly when it gets to that chorus where, you know, we are got a much more guitar forward sort of mix happening and there's a bit more, yeah, layering of instrumentation.
Hey Karen, pull up that file for me please. I'm gathering up my whole family tree. No F-U-N, only D-O-N with a capital E at the end from my best friend Eugene. You better run, better run, better run. Just one bucket helmet and you're done. Turn your friends and your family into chum.
I'm actually pretty surprised of how well the vocal emulation is dealing with the screamed vocals. That's quite surprising. Yeah, the chorus itself, it is pretty straightforward. You know, it's not anything too unfamiliar if you are familiar with this genre. I will say the second verse that we got there did such a great job of building on top of the first verse, both lyrically and musically. To drop this as your first track, I think that is quite impressive to, yeah, go into that just sort of, yeah, small attention to detail to build the song up so it's not so copy paste. Because to me, the drums definitely sound like MIDI drums, you know, I mean, potentially the bass guitar as well, because you can get away with some MIDI bass in this style. Guitars, of course, are real guitars, but yeah, there's a lot of post-processing happening, potentially with using virtual amp simulations and that sort of thing as well. So on that front, it is a little bit lifeless. However, the actual songwriting, there is that attention to detail, which is really nice to hear.
We are taking over. Bikini bottom will sink even lower. The crusty crab formulas are our last key.
I'm gonna show 'em all blind.
Damn, I was wondering when the breakdown would happen. Ooh. Solo. Hell yeah.
The secret formula
Whoa.
will be mine.
I want more of that breakdown in solo, damn. Such a great addition.
No more wasting all my time. You're the beach and I'm inside.
Ooh,
I'm about to break out. I'm about to break
nice. Yes. So good.
Just a pineapple is still better.
So overall, a pretty good start. I will say the thing that is kind of winning me over definitely was the breakdown and solo section. And then, the following chorus, it did what I think a really good rock and metal chorus should do, and sort of brings down the energy for a moment and then kicks you in the face as it comes back in full force. Again, another small attention to detail thing is just that slight change in melody in the chorus as well. It just helps really bring that final chorus to life. And yeah, so good to hear that, those small attention to detail bits. I really do wish that breakdown and solo was a little bit longer, just because that was kind of that section is kind of like the saving grace for me. If that section didn't hit so hard, I would sort of think this was a little bit more mediocre, or at least more typical for this genre and this style. However, that did a great job in not only introducing Karen and the way that Karen was introduced, but also, some other little things, some really nice points in there. I'm really interested to see where we go from here. So with that in mind, let's move over to Neon Tide.
One studio session later.
I've built machines that'll do more damage than Plan Z, blurring the lines of reality. I'm not alone. This neon tide is an army that'll turn Bikini Bottom to a war zone. They won't even need a bucket helmet or their eyes to bow down for the rest of their lives. 'Cause now the neon tide is breaking like the waves tonight. What's real and what's fake will be left up to fate. No love, no truth, no lies, just neon tide.
Cool. So far, I guess we're getting, within the many subgenres of metal, we're getting something more similar to, I guess, like Bring Me the Horizon and Architects, more in that vein, that more anthem-y, sort of big stadium, sung, a sort of chorus that can be sung back by an audience, and it be this big anthem sort of moment. That's cool. I don't want to make too many comparisons to Glob, but I think with Glob, because there is much more that trap focused and drill focused genre, that the auto-tune is doing quite a lot there. Whereas, there's definitely some auto-tune here, but it feels like it's a little bit more finessed. Maybe Melodyne is used rather than, an auto-tune to get some of those sung notes. Because, that's where, as soon as there was some of those longer vocal notes, I was thinking, oh, it's going to do that weird wobbly auto-tune thing. It did it a few times, but not as, intense as what we get with Glorb. So that was really cool. And again, very surprising the way that the attention to detail for the vocal emulation is actually doing quite a good job here.
AI failed.
Ooh.
What happened to my
Nice.
home is not the place I know. This neon is loud, the flower clouds are falling down. My pineapple is gray, and Gary ran away again.
Oh no.
Where's Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Man? 'Cause they
Hell
got
yeah.
this bucket helmet over eyes.
Ooh.
I don't wanna live like this for the rest of my life.
That little falsetto moment that we got from SpongeBob. Wow. Again, yeah, the vocal emulation here, you know, what we get from Glorb is quite good. I will say it is quite good, and it's only gotten better and better. But I guess just because we get this different genre framing, you know, I was expecting, yeah, the vocal emulation to be pretty bad, to be honest, but it's doing such a great job, which leaves me with two theories. Either theory one, Boy What is actually a pretty decent singer, and because of that, the vocal emulation or the voice emulation is much more able to do a good job. Or theory two is that Boy What is very good at using Melodyne and then making the vocal so perfect within Melodyne that then the voice emulation is able to do a really good job. But man, the way that transition happened from sort of intro to verse, that small section where, you know, Karen comes in and does a little bit of a feature, but we also get that big breakdowny section, and sort of hard to tell if it was a synth or if it was a guitar with, you know, some synth effect on there. But that was really cool, and yet again just gives you a good little transition section and something new, something different.
Neon tide is breaking like the waves tonight.
Yeah, definitely big anthem,
Left up to fate.
big anthem energy.
No truth, no lies, just neon tide. When the smoke rolls in and the light falls out, don't you be surprised. You're the demand, so I'll supply the neon tide. What's your final wish? You toast the van, you jump on
Clap, clap till you can't take it back.
Damn. Oh, this is fun. This is fun.
It's breaking like the waves tonight.
Ooh,
What's freelance?
bit of a double time shift. Nice. Keeping things interesting. Ooh. Oh. Some horns? And that very ethereal vocal. Oofed. Yeah, there's definitely no mistaking here. There's no questioning here as to the production and the songwriting skills coming from Boy What. Because maybe they're just super good at sort of knowing what works well in this genre, and they're just doing such a great job at pulling the pieces apart from, again, Bring the Horizon or Architects, you know, bands of that sort of nature, and putting this film or this framing around that of using Plankton, using SpongeBob IP to just add that little extra layer of storytelling and you know, sort of the clout that kind of comes with it, and the nostalgia that comes with it as well. But yeah, like, again, that last chorus, you know, the fact that it bumped up to double time, the fact that there was that really nice ethereal sort of vocal with lots of reverb on it right in the background, so just adding this nice texture. But then the addition of some horns, like a horn section, again, just something I don't think a lot of people would have thought about doing, even attempted to do. And now, did it really work? Did it really fit super well? I'm not sure. It was I mean, they're obviously, again, MIDI trumpets playing there, and there is a little bit of that sort of lifelessness to it. However, I think just the fact of doing something different, throwing something in to keep the song interesting at that point was super cool. And again, that big breakdown section just hit super hard. It really did. And it's those little things, that makes me think, Boy What is absolutely listening to a lot of these bands and then pulling the pieces apart from them when making these songs to really sort of, I guess, make the best song within this genre. And it's doing a super, super good job at it. And again, the lyrical content, it's digging real deep into show references. But then it's also, sort of building its own narrative around all of that as well. Very similar to what Glob does. And again, doing a super good job at it. So now we're moving on to Just a Pineapple.
One studio session later.
Spend my days in the jellyfish fields, trying to fish you off my mind. Spend my nights at the Lagoon, experiencing the high tide. I feel like the man with glass bones and paper skin, and a heart so fragile. Cause without you, this home's just a pineapple. I'm ready to pick up the shelf. I'ma get you back home. Say the word, I'll get the paddy wagon on the road. Only got 594 points to go. Ravioli,
Oh, God.
you'll be my one and only now. I know I'm not
Doing such a great job.
handsome, but I'm ugly and I'm proud. Spend my days in the
These in-show references,
tryna fish you off my
10 out of 10.
mind. Spend my nights at the Lagoon, experiencing the high tide. I feel like the man with glass bones and paper skin, and a heart so fragile. Cause without you, this home's just a pineapple. You're grade A, like Krabby Patty beef. Whenever you come back around, I'll take you back down to make out reef.
Baby, you're sweet like a pineapple.
Hey, Thatcher.
Like your bait on attack. But then you tore me apart like the hash to your slasher. And you kick my ass like flats the flounder. Yeah, nothing's the same and you're all blame. Playing hook you in my heart like it's all a game. Not even a crusty crab hits rhyme when I'm eating a 3 a.m. patty without you by my side.
Spend my days in the jellyfish fields, trying to fish you off my mind. Spend my nights at the Lagoon, experiencing the high tide. I feel like the man with glass bones and paper skin, and a heart so fragile. Cause without you, this home. Without you, this home's just a pineapple.
So I think it's pretty obvious that with that one, it really is just the lyrical content that is really pushing the song along and keeping things interesting. Because as for the music itself, it is just a very straightforward, simple beat. It doesn't move or change too much. And then, of course, we get the addition of Patrick, which is awesome. And I think that vocal emulator did a great job with Patrick's voice as well. We get much more of a sung vocal than what we get in Glob stuff from Patrick. It was interesting to hear how well it was doing as well with Patrick's voice. So yeah, pretty cool. And again, heaps and heaps of references from the show. That's probably been the most interesting part so far, is just how many in-show references Boy What is just throwing into these songs. Let's move forward to Battling My Demons by Boy What and Jarris Johnson. Sorry to butt in, I just needed to add a little note in here regarding the editing for this next section. So there was a little problem with copyright with the Battling My Demons song, so I've just edited around it to remove that copyright problem. Anyway, I'm guessing that's Jarris Johnson singing. Production quality is definitely different. Definitely improvement. Is this song a cover? Because it sounds so similar to a song I've heard before, and I don't know if it's, like lyrically, particularly that chorus and that refrain of Battling My Demons, that I feel I've heard that before and I'm not sure where, but maybe it's also like the context as well, musically, again, that does sound very, very similar to a song or many songs that I've heard before in this genre, in this sort of modern metal where there's a bit more of a pop influence, at least with that sort of like big anthemic chorus, sung chorus. The production quality, that's definitely been stepped up. Everything sounds a little bit more professional, a bit more cleaner. There's a bit more separation in the guitars. The drums as well, they sound, even though I'm pretty sure they're still MIDI drums, they definitely sound a bit just higher quality. The vocal processing as well definitely sounds, again, just that higher quality. I don't know who Jarris Johnson is, I'm not familiar with them, but it does feel weird featuring someone in this context. Like, you've released 3 songs so far that are very much rooted in the SpongeBob IP, but again, like as I mentioned previously, like it's in there, but then there's this other narrative that Boy What was building around that. So it feels weird to helicopter someone else in, and it feels like it's not necessarily cohesive to that story that was being built previously. So that's thrown me off a little bit. However, sort of everything else around that, musically is we've definitely got an increase in production, which is nice. It's good to hear and experience that sort of moving forward, that progression of things getting better. So I am interested to see, does this tie into, again, that original sort of story that had already started being built, or is this, non-canon within this context? That was cool. It's funny, I would say, in that first track, I wanted the breakdown and that solo to be longer, but here I think it goes a bit too long. It sort of hangs out a bit too long and gets a bit much. I will say that they definitely were able to keep it quite interesting, throwing a lot of different things in there to keep it interesting. But it kind of just felt like it hung out for a little bit too long. However, it definitely hits super hard. I'm going to make a prediction that this last chorus is gonna bring things down and then bring it all back in with lots of energy. Yep. So we're starting to get a bit more of that sort of songwriting, copying technique thing that we've already heard before from Boy What. Also that guitar, that little guitar line was nice. That sort of didu-du-didu-du-didu-du-didu-du. That was kind of cool at the end there. I like that. Just making that last chorus a little bit more interesting, a little bit different to what we've already heard. But we're getting a bit more of this sort of sameness from Boy What, at this point, at least with the heavy songs. I think for me with this one, Battling My Demons, it's definitely that addition of Jarris Johnson. It just felt weird. It felt off. It really didn't feel canon to this Boy What SpongeBob universe. Overall, not a bad song, but I think what gives these songs character and what I think a lot of people really enjoy about Glorb and these styles, this approach to making songs is that, everything is kind of contained within the production of Glorb or within the production of Boy What up until this point, where now that we're getting like a feature from someone else that isn't of SpongeBob IP, it feels a little bit broken almost. And lucky last, Funeral of an Antihero.
Antihero, no place to call home, no flowers at the funeral of an antihero.
Oh, nice. Switching it up.
I see the light from the ocean floor. The angels learned how to swim, surrounded by everything that I've created. The neon tide's my only friend. They say the greater they are, the harder they fall. But what if you hear nothing at all?
So far, two things. Obviously, we get a bit of a genre shift. We're much more in the pop punk realm or alt rock realm of that sort of 2005 through to 12, 13, 14. Influence definitely from My Chemical Romance and maybe some A Day to Remember in there, and that those sorts of bands. I am going to say that I think that upping in production quality that we got previously must have come from Jerris Johnson being involved, because just overall, like, the mix and the master is definitely a little bit lower. Like, the master's lower than previously, and the mixing of the instrumentation isn't as sort of like clean or separated. It's a little bit less than previously. So that's my theory. I am liking that, we're getting a bit of a shift up, that we're not just straight into another sort of modern metal core meets pop sort of thing, that we're getting, something a bit different. Something within that sort of pop punk emo sphere, which I think, now thinking about it, the character of Plankton, it sort of makes a lot of sense, because there is, just so much angst and sort of that feeling of revenge from the character, originally within the show. So it makes a lot of sense that, there would be almost that Plankton sort of just general personality from the show would actually fit quite well in this genre style. So that's cool, and that's pretty fun.
As time goes by and I'm a ghost, a lonely soul without a host. I watch you build a memorial in my name, surrounded by everything that I've created, and I'll go down as the greatest anti-hero. No place to go, no flowers at the funeral of an anti-hero. Soon I'll be gone, and years from now the ocean will erase how they were wrong. In the dirt all alone is when I'll be known as an anti-hero.
pretty cool to take the chorus or the idea of the chorus and give it that sort of breakdown feel. That was a nice little touch there. I am wondering, there was those sort of background, those female background vocals. I wonder if that is meant to be one of the in-show characters, or if that's just sort of a nice little addition of having a female sort of vocal in the background there, just adding something different texturally and musically to the song. Ooh. Cool. Pretty decent solo, pretty ripper. Definitely fit really well within the style. Cool. Interesting way to finish things off there. I kind of hate making the comparisons, but I think we kind of have to. I think the thing that really makes the Glorb track so good is that when there is a solo track from a character that, you know, they're usually quite self-contained, they're quite short and they're to the point, whereas some of the longer tracks that we get from Glorb, you know, are the ones that there are a feature or it's the multiple characters within the one song. And that's where this one falls a little bit short for me, because it is a longer track, you know, 3 minutes and 20 seconds. By the sort of 2/3 mark, it gets a bit boring and a bit, I just want something. I want something bit different vocally. Maybe that's why there was the addition to the female vocal. But yeah, to throw a new character in, I think would have been awesome. Obviously, or just to make the song a bit shorter, a bit more, sort of to direct and to the point. Just 'cause it gets a little bit old, at least for me. You know, this is a genre that I'm very familiar with, and maybe it's just because I've heard this style of song so many times and it's just old to me. But yeah, that's where I would have liked to see, either just, or hear rather, a shorter song that was more direct to the point, or threw in a new character. That would have been fun. But overall, some really great points. You know, I think, as I mentioned before, I'm definitely doubling down on the fact that I think Boy What absolutely understands this genre of music very, very well, knows what works, what doesn't. And I think in this one, you almost get a bit more of a nostalgic feel, because, you know, this style of music at this point in time, you know, 2024, it's, you know, 20 years old at this point. Even older if you have a look at, you know, some other sort of more smaller emo bands from late 90s. So yeah, there's definitely a bit more of a nostalgic feel to this one, which I think a lot of people would connect with, particularly from my generation. Yeah, interesting, but I do feel that, the earlier tracks, they had a little bit more of a something to it, a little bit more of, a bit more substance, a bit more just something there that kept it super interesting. Whereas these later tracks, again, you know, the one with Jerris Johnson and Funeral for Antihero, it feels a little bit of a disconnection from those first tracks. And maybe that's just because, you know, I am assuming that Boy What was going to do a sort of copy paste of Glorb and build this Boy What SpongeBob universe. Maybe that's not the purpose, and I just need to reframe. But I think at the end of the day, that's kind of what people really, really enjoy about the Glorb stuff. And, you know, if you're just going to write a pretty decent, sort of emo pop punk song, why frame it as Plankton and not make it, yeah, sort of cohesive to that story? Just start a band and do it on your own, yeah, sort of terms. Don't build it upon that thing that you're kind of selling it as. Maybe that's a little bit harsh, but I do hope that Boy What continues this, because yeah, and I'm really interested to see, you know, what comes next, because what Funeral for an Antihero really shows me is that there is range and there's willingness to span different genres, and that'll be interesting to see, yeah, where Boy What goes from here with the next song, whether it gets heavier and goes, you know, deathcore route or tech metal route or whatever, you know, that'd be crazy. And I'm definitely also interested, yeah, for addition of new characters. Well, that would be super cool to, yeah, sort of get a bit more of a range of different characters, because at the moment everything is really focused around Plankton, other than Just a Pineapple, which is obviously, yeah, focused around SpongeBob. I think you could even, you know, with the addition of Eugene, of Mr. Krabs, you could absolutely do a pirate metal song, or even with, you know, someone like the Flying Dutchman, yeah, do a pirate metal song. That would be super interesting and super fun. Overall, I think a pretty decent job from Boy What. I'm definitely interested in following this, seeing where it goes, what's next, hoping that there's an addition of new characters and maybe, yeah, some experimenting in different genres like what we got with Funeral for an Antihero. And the one big thing that I am hoping for is that the music videos kind of expand as well to something other than just, yeah, the AI generated art morphing. You know, it works quite well, but I think if you are going to go that story-based route, you kind of need to have the visual aid assisting, I think. Whereas, yeah, maybe the song isn't quite enough, at least for me, you know, to keep it interesting and super entertaining. Anyway, that's it for me in this one. Let me know, what are your guys' thoughts on Boy What? Did I dig in a little bit too hard on some of my points, or was that sort of fair? But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, check out one of these other videos appearing before me, and you'll catch me in the next one.